203. I'm not sure if we announced that here. I know I'm used to doing it at the county. Clarissa, you want to do the roll call, please?
Yes. Judge Connie Scott.
Present.
Mayor Paulette Guajardo. Judge David Krebs.
Present.
Mayor Kathy Scarrow.
Here.
Gabe Guerra.
Present.
Mike Walsh.
Present.
Art Granado.
Present.
Emily Martinez. Judge, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We do have a quorum, so we will move on to item 2. I understand there is no one signed up for public comment. There are no cards turned in, so we will move on to item 3, approval of the TPC January 8th, 2026 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the January 8th, 2026 meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 4, discussion and possible action items. Item A, the draft fiscal year 25-28 tip with amendment number 3. And I believe we have Jeff, you're going to present here. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, this is an action item for public comment, for 1 month public comment. For this item, we'll be removing, adding, and adjusting some of the projects and money. When it comes to removing, there's the proposal for removing Park Road 22, Nueces to Whitecap. More of that in just a second. A little update. And remove MPO 68, which is the regional traffic operations improvements and safety countermeasures due to there being a pool of money not being used and no one pick up any projects. And when it comes to adding projects, we're adding 3 new projects. One of them will be CCRTA new maintenance facility. They received a low or no emissions grant award in November of 2025 with totaling over $57 million. And 2 other more projects. We're adjusting 1 more project, CCRTA 152 as well, and removing 17 projects as well. This, for the new maintenance facility, the earliest approval, it's May 19 of 2026. And on attachment 5, you can see the timeline for that, for the tip and STIP update and approval. The recommendation for this item, CCRTA, TAC, and MPO staff recommend that the TPC review the draft fiscal year 2025-2028 tip with amendment 3, receive public comments, and recommend to release of the document for a 1 month public comment period. The update that I want to share is during the Corpus Christi City Council meeting on January 27, 2026, the City Council passed a motion in support of the MPO project CSJ 0617-02073 corridor upgrade for pedestrian access management improvements without adding capacity. The intent is to keep the PR22 project in the fiscal year 2025-2028 tip. Yes.
Are there any questions from anyone?
Any questions?
Go ahead, Mike.
Got a few comments. So we just got our new forecast dollars this week. Statewide, the state's Unified Transportation Plan, which is a 10-year program, has fallen below $100 billion for the first time in probably 4 years. So we generally, the last few years, we've been running about 111. The economy is doing well. That's a reflection of the economy and oil and gas excise tax that are coming into the program. We are looking at, as a state, having $94 billion for the whole 10 years to spend. And with that reduction, we are seeing reductions in our allocations coming down to the district level and into the MPOs. So we're seeing a shortfall right now in the upcoming TIP program that we're working on of about $27 million. So that's real projects we're going to have to move out of year like 2030 that we can't afford. The current tip has got some challenges as well, and that's why Rob's looking at some of the stuff we're doing here today. Rob, is that okay? I'll turn it over to you at this point. And
Yep. So the current four-year plan, which is fiscal years 25 to 28, based on the new numbers that came out from the state, we need to just double check. Now, today's action is releasing for the 1-month public comment period. You're not approving it. So it gives us a chance, TxDOT, MPO, to look through the list and look through the numbers to see if we have to adjust anything else. But on your agenda today, if you have a motion to approve the tip for the 1-month public comment period, a couple line items, as Jafet mentioned in the cover memo, if you're pulling out Park Road 22, that's $17.9 million. That's going to help with the fiscal constraint because the money went down, not up. There's a traffic operations and safety project for $9 or $10 million. That's right now recommended to come out. And so there's another project in there that also is a pool of money for Category 9, which is bicycle and pedestrian type projects. That too, a pool of money would come out. So we think there's 22 and 18, so almost $40 million that are coming out, which may really help our fiscal constraint for this 4-year plan. But remember, this 4-year plan ends in 4 or 5 months. You'll all be asked to approve another 4-year plan that does fiscal year 27 through fiscal year 30. It's going to look a lot like this current 4-year plan, but the new numbers, we really have to take a look at it, see what projects we can slot in. So working with the district, most of the projects you all have are from TxDOT. The other pile of projects is from the RTA and transit projects. All their changes are in this current 4-year plan. So we think that is set. We don't think any cost changes are coming to their projects. So again, the action today is released for the 1-month public comment period. Your technical advisory committee is going to get another look at it. Certainly staff at all the agencies are going to get a look at the numbers. And then when you see this in about a month, we should have everything sorted out. I'll go with that optimistic for you.
Sounds very good. Any other comments?
I have some questions, actually. Just to clarify, this is 4A, right?
Yes.
We're on
Yes.
4A.
Yes.
Okay, and then we're removing, I guess, Park Road 22, Nueces Aquarius to Whitecap. Is that correct?
That's the recommendation.
Why is that the recommendation?
I'm sorry.
When did we make that recommendation? Who made that recommendation? I'm just curious why we're moving, a project on Park Road 22 from Nueces to Whitecap. I mean,
Yeah, the technical advisory committee is making the recommendation, and staff supports that. And talking with TxDOT, that project is just not ready to go.
so it's not ready to go then?
it's not ready to go. Also, there's some challenges with the funding code. So the funding code is really for capacity and roadway, and this is more pedestrian and bicycle access. So it's the wrong category of funding to really
Okay,
be
see,
putting into that.
that helps out a little bit better. When I see you're removing something, I have to have a reason why. You can take something away from Park Road 22 and just lump it in with the RDA's project here, because I can't vote no on that if I'm going to be voting against my own maintenance facility. So that's the reason why I have to ask why you put it in there. And should have had some little bit notes, because maybe I missed that meeting, but you explained it quite well, so I have no problem, no issue with it anymore, so thank you.
Good points, though. Then I will accept a motion to release the draft 25.
I'll make that motion. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. This is for the 1-month public comment period. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Moving on to item B, and you are back up, Jafet. Thank you.
For item 4B, this is just for the MTP. Update with Amendment 2. For this, the MTP will be changed to align with the TIP. So whatever the decision was from 4A, it will be aligned with the MTP with Amendment 2. That's basically the. Oh.
Any questions? Then if there are no questions, I will accept a motion to release the draft 2045 MTP update with Amendment 2 through Resolution 2602 for a 1-month public comment period as well.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Granado and Kathy, yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item C, draft 2050 NTP population and employment control totals. And this is you, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. This may sound familiar. Way back last year in January, we talked about what are the population and employment estimates for our region as articulated by county. And you all approved a set of numbers back then. It was included as part of our 2045 MTP update, which was our 20-year long-range transportation plan. We are now underway in our next long-range transportation plan, 25 years, so it's known as the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. One of the first components of that is seeing what our population and employment numbers are out through 2050. So the state demographer has come out with new numbers way back in October of last year. Those numbers have been revised. Nueces County, in your cover memo, we gave you the table of what you approved January of 2025 and what we're asking for approval today. What's highlighted on page 2, if we can get that on screen so folks in the audience can see it, the numbers changed a little bit from the countywide totals. There they are. And so in your packet, you had a chance to look at these numbers. State demographer put the numbers out. We brought it to your technical advisory committee. They recommended going to the midpoint option, which is highlighted in yellow on the second set of tables. That is in line with what most MPOs around Texas are using. State demographer numbers are pretty good. They've back-checked their numbers. In your packet, we gave you their methodology, the short version, not the PhD dissertation version of how the state demographer comes up with their estimates all over Texas. And so these are going to be the starting point as we create our next long-range plan. Simple thing of we decide based on these population employment where they're going to be. We have to allocate them throughout the counties. And so is City of Portland going to get a lot more of the San Patricio County? Or how about Sinton? Sinton going to get more population? For Nueces County, how many people are going to be on the south side of Corpus Christi? How many be in the London area? How many on the island? So the next step in the process is taking these countywide totals and sub-allocating them down within the counties. And so that'll be a separate process. We'll bring that back to you as we work along that. But again, this first number is to get us started. Eventually, this leads to what's the transportation demand in the region for highways, transit, bicycles, pedestrian projects based on this population and this employment. And of course, connecting population, employment, and other purposes of why people travel, that's the basis of our next long-range plan. So we say, we got a lot of people that want to go by highway. We have a lot of people that want to go by bus. Whatever it is, that you'll get over the next year and a half as part of the long-range plan known as the 2050 MTP. But again, this item for approval is this set of numbers so we can take it to your task force, which is a small area forecast task force. That comprises, if you remember, that has your local governments. It has the chambers, economic development, school districts, other folks that we can think of to say, here's our population and jobs. Are we doing okay? And so some of those unique features here, and I know folks sitting here just came back from DC talking about our military jobs. We need to know how that's going to be. So we're going to take an estimate of that, but we're also going to look at school districts. School districts are closing schools. They're shifting more schools. So all that weighs into the task force deliberations on where this population, where the jobs are going to go. And again, we'll bring that back to you in 4 or 5 months. Let us do that. But again, this is the first step to say we trust in the state demographer numbers. That'll be our regional numbers, and we'll go from there. So it's a very unique piece of our next 25-year plan, but as you'll see in the next item, we want to give it to you a piece at a time and not all 1,000 pages at a time. And so this item, again, is and the Technical Advisory Committee and staff jointly recommend these numbers for you all to approve.
Any questions? I'll accept a motion to approve the new draft 2050 population and employment control totals.
Move to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Item D, this is you, the draft 2050 NTP chapters and appendices. You again, Rob, sorry.
Yep, that's fine. Sorry, need to get my microphone on. I didn't want you to hear all the rustling of papers. So the last agenda item, I talked a little bit about our next long-range plan, 25 years out to 2050. Metropolitan Transportation Plan, it's MPOs, we're always planning. We have 4-year, 10-year, and 25-year plans. So our 25-year plan is due no later, probably April of 2027. So we have a long run-up. So as I said earlier, we do not want to wait a year and give you 1,000 or 2,000 pages to sift through. We're not that mean. We also need the public to weigh in on it. The Technical Advisory Committee, all our other partners in the region, we want to talk about what is their transportation needs. So have been out and will continue to go out and with staff, we're going to engage everyone we can think of to come up with what should be part of this plan. But this first item, again, this is action to approve one chapter. So chapter 1, the introduction, not controversial. We want that approved, and we want the list of appendices I'll talk about in a minute. We'd like those approved for use and development of this 2050 MTP. You get to reapprove and change things between now and April of 27, but we want to get approval of this for use in that, take it out to the public, keep looking at things, and if they change, we'll bring them back. Now, most of these appendices are pretty static, meaning they've been approved by local agencies, like the RTA. You can see they have a transit asset management plan, their safety plan. Most likely, they're not going to update those in the next year and a half. But if they do, we'll weave it into an appendix and we'll bring it forward. Some of the other things that have been approved statewide, like the freight mobility plan, that just started their update. We hope to not have to weave that back in if they update it in the next year and a half, but we'll see. And so all these appendices, again, you all have the links for them, and only you have been able to see them in your technical advisory committee. We're asking you to release for public comment. We don't want to make it live and then ask you to release it for public comment or approve it. So these items, again, we want to have it as a starting point for that 2050, 25-year long-range transportation plan. So we're recommending, and your technical advisory committee jointly recommend that you approve these, and we'll get started.
Thank you. Any questions for Rob on this? Go ahead, Mayor.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Rob, how many members of the public attend? Can the public hearing, or how does that work? Or submit?
Yeah.
I mean, do people really go or give their input or even know about these?
Yeah, a couple of things. We have our public participation plan, which is a fine document for y'all to read sometime, but I'm not going to say read it. Read it sometime, but I know your staff has read it. So what that public participation plan calls us out to do, we go out everywhere to bring information out to talk about transportation plans in the region. So we go to them. We do invite them to come to our website. If I don't say 10 times, go to our website, come to our website. Okay. So when we go out and to talk to folks and we put our press releases out, we say, come to our website. When we talk to local media, we say, go to our website. If you want to look at the crash dashboard, front page, we'll walk them through. We'll walk citizens, neighborhood associations, whoever wants to, we'll walk them through how to find things on our website so they can read the hundreds of pages or whatever they want to read and then give us a comment by email. Come to these meetings, come to your technical advisory committee meetings, and come to our meetings for the 4-year plan or the 25-year plan.
But do we really get people giving their 2 cents?
It depends on the topic. Some of the meetings we had, and we joined TxDOT when they do a meeting on, say, Regional Parkway or 361 on the island or Northwest Boulevard or the Gregory Interchange. That was one of the last ones. The Gregory Interchange, I don't know, Mike, you've had probably 100, 150 people that came out. So MPO staff goes out there and we ride the coattails of TxDOT. They do a great job getting people out saying, we're going to build this $120 million interchange because of the transportation demand. It got slotted and prioritized through the MPO process. Hey, by the way, we can tell you about the MPO process. So if you have a project, they can let us know by any and all means, but we don't just wait for them. We go out and find, like our next phase is going out to talk to school districts. We know the school districts care about safety of their kids around school. So
Right.
there's a program that's not exactly called, but Safe Routes to School. So fixing sidewalks and crossings. So where school districts don't bus people, that's a focus area in our active transportation plan, which is one of those appendices in this document before you. So it lays out where we want to talk to people, what their particular interest is, and we bring that back, we weave it all together, bring it through another public process, through our technical advisory committee, and eventually you all vote to approve that plan. And you just amended the last 25-year plan 5 minutes ago. And so if things change, we know they change. So as we talked earlier, when the money changes, we may have to have a series of public meetings to say, what are we taking out of our 25-year plan, our 10-year plan, and our 4-year plan? And so it's exactly what we're going to do based on what Mike and I just found out within days, that the estimates are lower. And so we need to bring that any and all means out to the public. We go to whatever groups will have us. How's that?
I think, is there a social media presence
Yes.
for the MPO?
Yep.
There is.
Yep. So Facebook, X, Twitter, our website, which the other one I'm forgetting?
LinkedIn, maybe?
Yeah. So if you come to our website, you can see we have links to all of that. And we
Okay.
push out these meetings and other meetings through social media. And so we're
It's just very important to me that, I don't know that enough people know or understand the impact of this or understand, what is happening with it. I just, I don't feel that. And I appreciate the proactive outreach. I didn't realize that, and I think that's great. And I don't think that people sit around going, let's eat dinner and then go to an MPO public hearing. They don't do that. But I don't know that there's always more room to educate, right? Because a lot of things, the average person wouldn't understand what that meant. Like,
No.
all of our acronyms and such. But anyhow, always just making it a point to always improve in outreach and education. So sounds like we're doing it, but we can always improve.
So we're starting, and I think some of our successes is, as I came to City Council a couple months ago with my $1 billion, I came to all of your places with $1 billion. We get a nice uptick in our web traffic, and people want to find out, well, who's got the $1 billion?
Right.
Who are these people? It's not as important of we're the MPO, but we want to know what the transportation needs are across the whole spectrum.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
Is there a problem with us sharing on our web pages, the city, the county, when you have these
Thank you.
hearings or something? Mary
we-
Esther might have a question or answer that. I don't think there would be a problem since we all serve on here. We probably should push those out on our social media post as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Judge Krebs, you look like you were about to hit the button a while ago. Did you have a question? I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? Okay. Well, then I will accept a motion to approve the available listed draft 2050 MTP chapters and appendices for use in the draft 2050 and TP development and public outreach.
So move.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 5, information items. A, Corpus Christi MPO boundary change process. Rob, we went over this a little bit, so.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Information item, no action today. So in your memo, we cover a little bit of the history of this 2-year process. So taking you back to US, after the census is done, all the 440 MPOs in the country get a chance to say, all right, do we need to adjust our boundaries one way or another? So we, the MPO, in our technical advisory committee, went through a process, led to a great workshop last June that talked about the parameters of what should change the boundary. So we got through that. We had a proposed boundary that was set for last July for your technical advisory committee to have a recommendation. And at that meeting, there was a pause caused to consider getting more guidance or advice from Federal Transit to say transit service areas are what they are. Should they be inside or outside our boundary? So all of you may remember the transit service is in Robstown. That Robstown is outside our MPO boundary. Port A, Port Aransas is outside our boundary. Transit provides service there. So the question, when we look at our boundary, should that be in or out? And so last July, it was a pause to go talk to Federal Transit in Texas and in DC to say, can we get some guidance? So the result of that finally came in a couple months ago. I didn't give you the email, but I grabbed from the email what's highlighted in your cover memo of what they said. And so they basically said it's up to the MPO and the governor to decide what your boundary ought to be with all the regular considerations. So here's this information item. It's going to go back to your TAC in 2 weeks. We're going to ask the TAC a list of questions to say, are we ready to move forward? The boundary is set. It has most everything done, but the question remains, what about transit service areas, inside or out? And so obviously we're going to ask the TAC members who include the RTA, as you have an RTA member here. You know, it's logical to ask, what do you think, transit service provider? Should he be inside or outside the boundary? Based on that, we move forward with Port A, in or out. If Port A transit service area is out, we don't talk about Port A anymore. Robstown has 2 ways into our boundary. In the U.S. Census, we talked about there's a small piece of city limit that the U.S. Census said that's dense enough to be urbanized. That should be the MPO boundary. It's a very small piece, no problem. To do that, we just need a resolution of support from Robstown. I brought them that resolution last May. They tabled it. So I need to go back with them. They have a new mayor, so I'm going to try to go back out and see what they think. So consideration there is transit. If not transit, they stay out except for the triangular piece. They could ask to come in, but I know TxDOT has talked to them, and I've talked to some of their staff. They get a lot of non-MPO rural money. So if they get, I'm picking a number, $50 million in rural money, if they come into the MPO, they're not eligible for that rural money anymore. So it may be in their best interest. They get to decide whether they want in or out. So that's Robstown. The other consideration is City of Gregory. City of Gregory has always been a member of the MPO. They have just not spoken on their own behalf. The new mayor has asked to speak on her own behalf. So we'll bring that as part of the package. Just the boundary is the boundary. It's just in the bylaws, which is part of what we have to change if we add anybody. Part of the boundary change packet or the list is in your attachment 1. There's a lot of things we have to do, but we need to go first back to the TAC, say, here's the boundary. We need to sit down with TxDOT, the port, and MPO staff to literally walk around the boundary because there's a few tweaks in there. Like the boundary's on the wrong side of a TxDOT road. For funding, it needs to be on the correct side. So we need to adjust, as I say in the cover memo, go to the right side of the road or the right of way. So port, some of the port things are, the boundaries doesn't include some of the port things. And so we want to make sure the layer of our GIS systems have the right thing. So we need to do that. We're going to do that a virtual meeting in the next couple of weeks. So when you see this, again, we should have that, we hope, resolved. But again, we're going back to TAC to say, okay, we're going to do that boundary cleanup, nothing major. We're going to address Robstown, Port A, transit service areas. We have to deal with Gregory that, do they get to speak for themselves or not? TAC may or may not have a recommendation on that. You all may or may not have a recommendation when we bring it back to you. I mean, they're members, but they're silent members. And so those are the main criteria. We're going back to the TAC. We want to get it cleaned up. We have to have our boundary change done by the end of this calendar year. So we're just now on the clock again. We think we have all the components for now the policy discussion. And so it'll start with the TAC. It'll come up back to you. Part of it may come back just next month. And if it goes smoothly, we may start introducing the other component of your bylaw changes. Because if you add somebody, we got to change your bylaws. So all these things are listed in the checklist, which are attachment 1 in your packet. So as an information item, just giving you the quick history, but letting you know, I think we're on a good glide path to bring it back, get all these questions answered, and then we'll have a boundary, and we'll be good to go.
Any questions, anybody?
Just to add on a little bit to what Rob was saying, so there's some real impacts to this, to the communities. There's a mandatory minimum, which Rob referred to, for our boundary, and that's based on the census. And that's why that little corner in Robstown had to be added. That's mandatory based on the census to add that. It's up to us how much more we want to add. We could blow this thing wide open and include the entire county as if we wanted to. What TxDOT has asked is, if a community is going to be added that's not mandatory, it's not part of that mandatory minimum, that the community have a say in whether or not they're coming in, because there's real dollar impacts to that community, because they're taking out of the category 4 rural dollars that all the rural Texas fights for, based on the quality of the project that we're putting forward. We were also unclear at one point what the impacts to RTA were, and we were unsure what the impacts might be to the port if we took the port out of it, if there were some dollars that could be diverted from them potentially if they weren't part of our boundary. So we just want to make sure we knew all the impacts and we're able to share that with y'all going in.
Go ahead, Mayor.
So if Robstown chooses, or we choose to, well, the mandatory, we have to bring that in. So the question is, if Robstown chooses to be the side, they don't do their resolution, and they wanted to stay with their rural funding, is it proportioned based upon the percentage of the city limits that are in the MPO versus outside the MPO? Do they lose all their other funding if a portion of their city is in the MPO? So how is that fleshed out?
It strictly is a project that might fall within that boundary. So it's not the whole city would lose out. If the project's out, if our project that we're talking about is outside the MPO's boundary, it has to seek funding some other way. If the project is even partially within that boundary, it has to get funded. So a great example is 361 on the island. We keep, it's often been talked about wanting safety improvements out there on that road from Corpus out to Port Aransas. Half of that is inside the MPO, half of it's out. None of that has been prioritized by the MPO for a project, though. So if we were to add Port A, the MPO would have to fund that full project from Corpus to Port A and make it a priority. And right now today, it's not on one of our priority projects.
Good point. Good question. Any other comments or questions? That was information only, so we don't need an action. We will move on to item 6, some member statements on local projects. Does any member have anything they wish to report? There's nothing. Then we'll move on to item 7, upcoming meetings and events. It looks like our next meeting is March the 5th, the regular.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll call out, and some of you I've talked to, next week we have our once every 4-year federal certification review. Y'all may remember, we just got our letter from Federal Highways, Federal Transit in May, certifying our process at the MPO for the 4 years that ended in 2021. So 4 years is up, so next week they're going to have at us for 3 days. And they've invited 3 policy committee members to talk to them one-on-one, and we're slotting that into the time frame for next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Yes. And there's a public listening session on Thursday at 4:30 at the RTA building in their boardroom. If you'd like to join us for that, feel free to come on by.
Thank you. Then I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So
I'll
moved.
make it. Then somebody second. Whatever. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. It is 2:38.